respected faculties and teachers, respected father, and my dear students of nursing sciences. I am very happy and thankful for the kind words told by my friend Jailal about me. Particularly, he mentioned about this email. I just refer that because we have built it as a model or epitome of nursing care for cancer patients. The first of its kind in the entire India, where the doctors have joined together and built a home or asylum for cancer patients who are treated already, but treatment failed victims. So if you have an opportunity, where what we are giving there is only a proper and good nursing care, because anyway they are going to live for only shorter period, because the treatment for the cancer overtaken, the disease has overtaken the treatment, and they are going to live for shorter time. So we are giving them a good nursing care, and you should all visit. Many of the nursing colleges in and around Erode district are having postings to our Imam Center, where they can meet all types of cancer patients under one roof. And 820 patients so far lived and died in the house, and many of the nursing students also doing lot of research and also thesis work in our home about the palliative nursing care of cancer patients. Having said that, I must thank again Dr. Jailal and his team for inviting me for this wonderful meeting where I can meet and share our experience. The topic he had chosen, I found that very interesting and made me also to do some homework, and also my personal experience also. I just put across everything together, and on the remaining 45 minutes I tell you, and to initiate that I just go through what is basic fundamentals of an operating room practice, so that being a first topic of this 2 days program, I thought this initiation would help you in developing discussion on further discussion on this particular topic of innovation in operating room practice. What is meant by perioperative care? Perioperative is a term used to describe the entire span of surgery, including what occurs before, during and after the surgical procedures. Phases of perioperative care include preoperative, intraoperative and postoperative. Everything, actually we don't separately look into that, but there are different kinds of activities in every phase. Though we are going to deal with the intraoperative practices in both 2 days, but preoperative phase and postoperative phase automatically join in the intraoperative care. The preoperative care phase starts from the time the decision is made for surgical intervention to the transfer of the patient to the operating room. This is the preoperative phase. Intraoperative phase starts from receiving the patient in the operating room until admitted to the postoperative care unit or postoperative intensive care unit or recovery room, whatever it is. So postoperative phase means starting from the time of admission to the postoperative anesthesia care unit to the follow-up evaluation. Now coming to the intraoperative care. This is a model operation theatre where you can see the operating table, headlights, Boyle's apparatus. This is the Boyle apparatus normally we use. And again, well, the most important part of the theatre or intraoperative care is the surgical team. Surgical team consists of the patient, anesthesiologist, surgeon, scrub nurse, circulating nurse, operation theatre technician, and anesthesia team. Every one of these team has a very specific task with a specific skill. They are all trained in a structured way to carry out their task. You know, this is the most important point, that everybody has their own skill, and they form a team called multidisciplinary team, and which would benefit the patient in the last by way of delivering a quality intraoperative care inside the theatre. The surgical team, the picture of the team, you see anesthetist, surgeon, assistant, scrub nurse, anesthesia, OT technician, anesthesia technician. So now coming to the responsibility of everyone. The anesthesiologist administers the anesthetic agent and monitor the patient physical status throughout the surgery. He is in charge of the status of the patient, or maintaining the vital signs of the patient, monitoring the vital signs or maintaining the patient. The surgeon will perform the surgery. The scrub nurse will provide sterile instruments and supplies to the surgeon during the procedure. And the circulating nurse is a very important member of the team. We will do verifying the consent, assisting with the patient positioning, preparing the patient's skin for surgery, or scrubbing the skin, or preparing with iodine, whatever antiseptic material we use, anticipating the results of the surgical team and documenting the intraoperative events. The operative theatre technician, what is his activities? It includes autoclaving, maintaining the cleanliness of the OT environment, fumigation, checking the working condition of the equipment. Everything should be in order, the Boyle's apparatus or the pulse oximeter and the multiparameter, whatever you use, everything should be, so he is in charge of all these things. Arranging the equipment and articles needed for the surgery and anticipate the needs of the surgical team. Whatever suddenly the surgeon or anesthetist will have some instruments or some medicine, he should anticipate and make it ready. Anesthesia technician will assist the anesthesiologist. So everybody is working together with the objective of maintaining the asepsis. This is the important or bottom line of our operating room. So what they do, all practitioners involved in the intraoperative phase have the responsibility to provide and maintain a safe environment. Safe and sterile. All materials in contact with the surgical wound are used within the sterile field. The sterile, once they wear the apron, they may move close with those people who are wearing the apron only. They will not move close with the other people who are not washed up or scrubbed up. So this is very important guidelines in maintaining a surgical part of the team. Important motto or aim of the team to maintain strict asepsis. Otherwise, you know, the wound get infected. We use lot of synthetic material, mesh, strands, tubes. All these things may get infected. Anesthesia, the goals of anesthesia are to provide anesthesia, sedation, and muscle relaxation. These are all, I am going to the very basic things of anesthesia so that you can understand the operating room practice in a better way. Anesthesia, sedation, and muscle. These three things are important when the patient is undergoing surgery. Anesthesia, sedation, muscle relaxation. This is called balanced anesthesia. Moderate sedation, monitored anesthesia care, or sometimes general anesthesia, regional anesthesia, and these are local anesthesia. These are the 5 important anesthetic techniques we use in the intraoperative room for a patient who undergoes varieties, maybe a small procedure or major procedure which runs for hours. So depending upon the type of the procedure, we choose this anesthesia. Moderate sedation, you give some kind of midazolam, and the patient may undergo some kind of small procedures like IND, orthopesis, excision, all kind of minor procedure where we use moderate sedation. We need only sedation called midazolam and sometimes combos, sometimes added with additionally we use oxygen. Monitored anesthesia care means we use mask so that the patient may have some kind of anesthesia, some kind of some amount of nitrous oxide, so that it can be also done for smaller procedures like IND. General anesthesia and the regional anesthesia are the more common types of anesthesia we use in the operating room. It is a reversal state consisting of complete loss of consciousness. Patient will be completely unconscious in general anesthesia. That is a different. where the monitored anesthesia and moderate sedation patient will be conscious, but will be sedated. Here there will be complete loss of consciousness and protective reflexes are lost. They will not have any reflex, gag, reflex, something will be there. With the loss of protective reflex, the patient airway needs to be maintained. Patient has to be intubated and ventilated. This can be done by endotracheal intubation or insertion of a laryngeal mask. This is the picture showing how we intubate the trachea with the endotracheal tube. You can see the cuff so that there won't be any air leak. And laryngeal mask also can be used nowadays, though it is costly. We can use for people where the intubation is difficult, short neck, anterior placed trachea. All these people, even if you cannot visualize vocal cord, in all cases you can use this laryngeal mask and give general anesthesia. General anesthesia for certain short and uncomplicated surgeries. Short general anesthesia, just a head tilt and give oxygen, and that will be suffice for some minor procedures. Phases of general anesthesia: induction, maintenance, emergency. Induction we use pentothal, now we use propofol. So patient will be slowly unconscious and maintain with halothane or seroflorin. All types of drugs, agents you all may be aware, that are used in induction. And also we use some sedation like morphine, fentanyl or pethidine. The analgesic potentiates the action as well as the will produce analgesia. And maintenance, we use intravenous by the continuous delivery of induction drug like pentothal, fluorine we use intravenous route or inhalation route or by both route. And the unconscious state is maintained throughout the surgery. Sometimes patient may recover, sometimes patient may recover from, again we do agents like pentothal or propofol, so that make again unconscious and patient till the termination of the surgical procedure. Reversal, sometimes the pain, we have given relaxant. The relaxant effect is once it is weak, the patient may again will move the limbs. There we can give a section a neostigmine, the drug called neostigmine, so it will completely take up the effect of the muscle relaxation and the patient will recover his tone and reflexes. And regional anesthesia, the anesthetic agent is injected around the nerves so that the region supplied by these nerves are anesthetized. Here again lot of surgical procedures can be done in the regional anesthesia where the patient will be conscious. The patient will be conscious and will be awake and aware of what is going on. In addition to that, we can give some sedation. But here patient will be conscious and will get a good relaxation. Good relaxation will be less amount of bleeding in regional anesthesia. That's why many of the procedures like cesarean section and many of the centers we do this regional anesthesia, piles and hernia operations. Everything is done under regional anesthesia. There can be spinal anesthesia, epidural anesthesia or peripheral nerve block. Spinal anesthesia is where we give the xylocaine injection between the L4 L5 space where the roots are, spinal nerve roots are blocked with the injection, so that you below the level of this L4 L5 all the areas are anesthetized and will be relaxed. This is a position either in the left lateral position or the sit-up position you can give this anesthesia. This is the space either in the subarachnoid space you give spinal anesthesia or epidural space you give the epidural anesthesia. Epidural anesthesia is continuously can be used even in the post-operative period for pain relief. You can use it, or even you put a catheter and the continuous anesthesia and analgesia also can be maintained in the epidural anesthesia. Peripheral nerve block, injecting a local anesthetic in the bundle of nerves or a single nerve. Bundle of nerve means axillary block. If you do a fracture operation in the humerus bone or some flap, plastic surgery operation, tendon repair, everything can be done in the axillary block. If you want to do a small procedure, the tip or in the finger, you can do a digital nerve block. You just inject a xylocaine into one of the nerves and you will get anesthesia of the entire finger. This diagram shows where you can inject this anesthetic agent into the plexus, brachial plexus. Local anesthesia, the injection of solution containing anesthetic agent into the tissues and the plant. If you want to remove sebaceous cyst here in the forehead, just to inject Xylocaine around that cyst and then do the surgery. This is local, where nerve block is the one where you inject into the nerve, around the nerve. Here you inject into the skin, so that the small peripheral nerves supplying that area of the skin will be only anesthetized. Advantages of local anesthesia are many. It is simple, economical and non-expensive, and the equipment needed for this anesthesia is very minimal. Post-operative recovery is very brief. Undesirable effects of general anesthesia are avoided, and local anesthesia is being done very widely for many of the particularly minor surgical procedures. Coming to the industry, these are all what I have mentioned so far is the type of procedures are carried out in an operating room for a patient with regards to the anesthesia. Now there may be complications of these anesthetic procedures, the general anesthesia or a moderate sedation or monitored anesthesia or short general anesthesia, regional anesthesia, peripheral nerve block or local anesthesia. All these procedures are anesthetic procedures not without complications. There will be some amount of complications like hypoventilation, hypoxemia, trauma, oral trauma, particularly intubation, hypotension, cardiac dysrhythmia and hypothermia. Hypoventilation due to inadequate ventilator support. Inadequate ventilator tube may be, the endotracheal tube may be malpositioned. Maybe it might have gone into the esophagus instead of the trachea. All these things we should monitor immediately when the pulse oximeter shows that the saturation is less. Oral trauma due to broken teeth, oropharyngeal, laryngeal trauma because of the difficult intubation. Hypotension is one of the commonest problems we encounter in the theatre of any anesthesia, because of the shock, because the patient system, everything, hemostasis is immediately altered after administration of these anesthetic agents. So hypotension is very common. That's why BP is always monitored very closely. Now multi-parameter monitors are there. One of the important equipment, multi-para monitor or intraoperative BP monitoring is one of the important thing in the operating room practice, where it measures the hypotension. Immediately what we do, just lower the head end or inject some agents like mefentin. All these drugs are used to elevate the falling blood or stop the falling blood pressure or elevate the blood pressure. Cardiac dysrhythmia due to pre-existing, sometimes patients are having already pre-existing cardiac diseases and electrolyte imbalance. All these produce cardiac dysrhythmia. Suddenly you see some ECG changes or rhythm changes in the ECG monitor, and this is very common during surgery, during anesthesia. Immediately we have to identify it and correct it. There are a lot of drugs are available and should be available in the operating room for treating this cardiac dysrhythmia. So gentlemen, this is, I have in brief told you the common operating room techniques, so that you can develop on this. There are a lot of innovation. Today, for the 2 days, we are going to discuss how we can modify, how we can prevent complications, how we can do it cost effective, how we can produce minimum expenses, result in procedure which result in minimum expenses for the patient. So public perspective, there are so many areas we can work on this. The standard operating, whatever I said is the standard operating room procedure. There is a team which is, every one of the team is designed to, defined to carry out individual skills. No one can carry out others' work, so that they have to do their own work. Ultimately, they work as a team, and the patient will be benefited, and they work well. They will definitely deliver a quality patient care inside the operating room. Okay. So what is the procedure? When I look into this subject, I have seen many thesis work done by nursing students all over the world, with regards to the innovation and operating techniques. The first and foremost thing in the mind is patient safety, life of the patient. Second is quality of the delivery. Third is sleep, yes.
patient safety. There are varieties of checklists are available. You know, the safety culture is increasingly followed in many other clinical establishments. There are charts starting from verifying the patient name and identity, starting from the diagnosis, verifying the diagnosis, verifying the site of operation. There are structured charts are available, which can be followed in operating group practice. No, you should not neglect it. There are various ways you can put a bougie and intubate. Difficult intubation, some of the anesthetists are very skilled. But instead of that, you can simply use a laryngeal mask also. But that skill also we have to maintain. You know, in every innovation, we have to keep that in mind. And everything is innovation and focused at the individual patient's perspective and also public perspective. And any technique will have all these 4 phases. Whatever innovation we discuss and whatever we want to implement, we will go through all these 4 phases. Adoption. The hospital should adopt this technique. Hospital should be willing to adopt. There is a culture that every hospital administration, hospital ownership should develop. To all the departments, finally implementation. And the attributes of all these innovations. One is, there are 6 criteria for all innovations. One is relative advantage over other. Relative advantage over the existing technique. Compatibility, complexity, triability, whether you can try this technique or not. And observability and reinvention, you can further invent it. These 6 criteria should be applied to any innovative technique we adopt in the operating room. And pillars, there are these 4 pillars of a smart and safe operating room. Number 1 is cognitive stimulation. Discuss with all the team members involved in the case management, anesthetist, scrub nurse, circulatory nurse, recovery staff, so that what are the instruments the patient will require, what are the drugs will require, everybody will come to know and will be prepared. Discuss the diagnosis, planned surgery, anticipated problems during surgery, and required equipments, drugs. That's what I said now. All these things, the team will be briefed. So everyone is mentally prepared to tackle any issue developing during the procedure. I told you, any surgery, any anesthesia is not without problems. Anything might go wrong in any time. So you have to prepare the team by this team briefing, adapting this technique of team briefing before that particular operation. Marking the site of surgery prevents the risk of wrong site surgery. Mark always with some skin marker is there. I believe many of the hospitals are following this technique of marking the site of surgery. Now, sometimes even a hernia, a small case, a hernia may not be evident during on table. Area might have gone inside, reduced spontaneously. So surgeon, suppose if he is not aware, he is not examined, suddenly we will get fumbled that which side the hernia is there. And we will ask the patient on the table to cough. It happens. So it is better to mark the site of surgery. All cases of hernia, hip and knee replacement, etc. should be clearly marked with a permanent marker in what period, in the what period to the premedication. Relevant radiological images should be accompanied the patient. This is another important thing what sisters should follow. So everything available to the patient, all the investigation reports should accompany the patient to the OT. And the electronic invoice, circulating nurse, this is the work of the circulating nurse, should be skilled in entering the data in the computer. All sutures, drugs and other materials used during surgery should be entered in the computer so that the work will be more quality and more assertive and safe also. Anesthetic nurse enters all the patient data during surgery and gets a printout and keep it with the patient care. So whatever happened, all the events during anesthesia, fall of BP, fall of heart rate,
all these things should be entered so that we can have a printed, so that the ward sister will know. So this particular patient had a problem during surgery. So that they will monitor and her mind is focused into that problem, and the patient care will be definitely improved. And counting the swabs and pads, this is another important thing, many times, many hospitals, many experienced surgeons, many experienced sisters, scrub nurses have had this problem. Left out swabs inside the abdomen. All the swabs and pads are tagged with the radioisotope and can easily be traced and accounted for. Small radioisotopes tag. You can even fluoroscope. You have to fluoroscope. The fluoroscope is ready. Once the operation is done, just put a CM is ready. CM may be knowing. Used for the operative techniques in orthopedics. So that you can see whether screen the patient. So you will immediately come to know that nothing is inside. This is another important innovative habit. If operating theatre follows, it will be very helpful. Before shifting the patient, you screen the patient. If you had tagged the pads and gauzes, pads with the radioactive tag, it will show up. Or if any instruments is left in the abdomen, it will show up in the fluoroscope. Okay, another thing very important and a new thing in the operating room. So the robot nowadays we use is the Da Vinci robot. There won't be any surgeon. What is robotic surgery? I can tell you very simply. Patient will be lying on the table. No surgeon there, no assistant surgeon there, and no scrub nurse. So the operation will be done entirely by the machine. So who will control? A surgeon will be in the console. You see, he is in the next machine where he will be simulating some movements that will be done by the robot. See that all the instruments are in place, and can you remove that dark block on? This is telesurgery. What is telesurgery? Same kind of robotic surgery can be done in 2 different countries even. The surgeon may be sitting in New York, the patient may be in France or any other country. The same thing he will do, he will simulate the movement like a video game. Video game, like a video game, he will do all the movements from New York, and the same movements will be transmitted to the patient operating room in France. That is called as telesurgery. This is robotic surgery. See the robotic surgery equipments. The equipments are very complex, very innovative. One of the best innovations I could say in medical surgical practice is the robotic arm. You can rotate the arm and the tip of the arm like a laparoscopy tip instruments are there, no? It can rotate on 360 degrees and do like any kind of movements like your own wrist. Okay, this is telesurgery. As I told you, the surgeon sitting in New York. See, there are so many people, assistant surgeons are in New York and the patient is in France, and you can do this surgery. I will finish it up. This cholecystectomy done by telesurgery. Again, the operating team, theatre team should be very, very skilled and very much sensitized about this surgery, about this kind of procedures. And notes. This is another type of innovation in surgical procedures or structural aspects of the operation theatre. You know that laparoscopy surgery, I have told you about robotic surgery, I have told you about telesurgery. This is different type of surgery. This is called a normal orifice surgery, natural orifice transluminal endoscopic surgery. We call it as nodes. There won't be any scar. You enter the abdomen through the stomach or through the vagina. So insert the instrument through the vagina and do a cholecystectomy. insert the instrument through the stomach, we perforate the stomach and do appendicectomy. So these kind of innovative techniques have come now. These are all being done slowly. Lot of innovations. There are a lot of problems also, and so hence a lot of innovations have come in the operating techniques are concerned. So gentlemen, with this I finish my talk saying that initially I told you about what is the basic aspects of operating procedures and what are the ways you can innovate in functional aspects by modifying our own technique, our own strategy, and structural aspects in many operating procedures. So all these things, innovations are based on the three things which I had mentioned earlier. One is improving the patient safety, delivering the quality care, and thirdly, maintaining strict asepsis. So thank you very much for your kind attention.